Hi, my name is Rose. I did my classroom observations at a school out in Sandy. I observed a third grade classroom that had 30% English language learners in it during 1 hour of every day. Um, and this was during a segment called Walking to Read. And the teacher that I observed, she would take the lower students of the third grade and work on scaffolding activities with them to encourage English proficiency. Um, and so during this time, they would do class discussions and group reading, and they would also work on like chunk words and letters for some of the lower readers. Um, and some of the students would also work on like the reading program Lexia on iPads. This class had a really large variety of English language learners. She would have during this time 14 students, and out of those 14 students, 8 of them were non-native speakers. And they were from all over the place. There were some from India, Pakistan, Jordan, Samoa, Mexico, Brazil, and they were all on different levels too. Some of them have been here their entire lives, but their parents only speak their native tongue at home. And others, like the boy from Brazil, he moved here in August. And so these students, they were just all on different levels as well as being from all over the place. Let's see, as far as parents go, most of the students seem like they had really supportive parents at home. They seemed like their parents really wanted to encourage them to learn English. There were a few students whose parents did not seem to care or didn't know how to go about encouraging learning English, and those were the students that seemed to really struggle with making progress. So for my first concrete example, during one of the class discussions, the students were asked to name talents that they have or that members of their families have. And one of the students, who was from Mexico, said, "I have a talent of games. My sister talent is style, and my brother talent is fighting." I mean, right there, it sounds awkward when he says it. And he's been here for several years, but he still seems to struggle with adding an S to the name, or to the end of names and titles, which would give that a like possession of the noun. And also, he used talent as a noun for himself when describing his talent, when he should have used it as an adjective and said talented to describe what he is skilled at. I think I probably would have corrected him during this activity because the whole purpose of the activity was to get students talking and to get them to make detailed sentences and use correct grammar. So I think I would have gone at least as far as saying, "Oh, you are talented at games and your sister's talent is style," you know. For my second concrete example, I just wanted to point out during this time for my second example that there were 2 students who were really low in the class. One was from Mexico, one was from Brazil. The boy from Brazil moved here in August, and the student from Mexico has been here for a little over 2 years. But the student from Mexico was recently diagnosed with a learning disability. And so she's actually in 4th grade, and she comes down to the 3rd grade to do part of the day, like working on foundations of reading and English. Anyway, like when you compare the two, it's obvious that there's something else going on with the student from Mexico than just English, than just the language barrier. Because the student from Brazil, he's been here since August, but he's already making progress. He can read pretty well, even though he probably has no idea what he's reading. But this student from Mexico, she can't distinguish sounds and words. She has a hard time reading CVC words, and she struggles with blending consonants. And at this point, no matter what language you come from, like especially with hers being Spanish, she should be able to do some of them. And so I think that shows that there is, a learning disability in there, which I guess learning disabilities are really hard to diagnose in English language learners. So, and I think with her, it is necessary to reinforce and correct her so that she can learn and make adjustments, and she may need several corrections until she learns it. And then for my last concrete example, during part of language arts time, the students were asked to mingle, and this is when they walk around the room and tell each other sentences that use that week's vocabulary words. And one of the words was honor, and the student from Jordan said, "I honor my parents so they be happy at me." In this case, he needs the auxiliary verb will after they, and instead of the preposition at, which is usually used in describing time, positions, or locations, he should have used the preposition with to indicate a relation or connection. I honor my parents so they will be happy with me. Through all my observations, I noticed he seemed to have a really hard time with usage and placement of prepositions. He made another statement, which was, "I got it in lunch," which also displays this preposition struggle. I don't think I would have corrected him during this activity. The whole focus of the activity was to use the vocabulary words correctly in a sentence. And also, he wasn't saying it to me or to the teacher, he was saying it to another student. So I don't think I would have gone out of my way to correct him on that. So, thanks.